Hey, what's going on everybody? Leo Invest here, back with another trade recap video. This recap is going to go over a YouTube live position that I had taken on NQ longs. And so just breaking this down and jumping right to the cut, what do we see with NQ on the 5-minute time frame that gave me interest in longs for the day? Well, let's look at the charts here. When we see Asia session and London session, what are some of the key characteristics that I see happening within both of them? Well, we see here that when we had that Tuesday open, we had gapped down, and then Asia had continued with a very slow bearish movement lower, creating a beautiful low on this Asia session on this 5-minute time frame. Then what did we see with London here? Well, London had actually had a London reversal and had reversed out of this bearish trend, creating a new session high within close to Asia's close, as well as a London high during London session. And then what did we see for the rest of London session? Well, London session pulled in Asia and had a very slow grind down to the bearish side prior to this New York open. Now, what was my game plan when I first saw this New York session open at 9 o'clock? Well, when I was on the live, I had told everybody that a very common setup I like to look for is to see some type of session liquidity get swept and then pair it with a change in state of delivery or some type of confirmation of liquidity being met prior to seeing a change in state of delivery form and giving me a reversal signature. And on the 5-minute time frame here, what I was looking for was to see these Asia and London lows get swept prior to seeing a continuation higher, potentially retesting these London highs or some of the draw on liquidity that we saw around this 18,700, right? So what do we see happen with New York now on this 5-minute? Well, New York had opened, we had a slow mover down, and then right at that 9:30 open, we had an aggressive pull up, a bullish movement up, paired with an SMT with ES, and then a bearish leg down. And so here, the main thing I was watching to see was this Asia session be swept on the 5-minute time frame with a bullish candle body closure to confirm a potential first layer of confluence to this bearish or to this bullish entry trade. And so here I'll just play this out and we'll see what happens here. What do we see happens here? We see this London low get swept. And so as I had mentioned, I wanted to see London or Asia lows get swept, and we saw this London low get swept where liquidity had gotten filled, and then we saw a bullish candle body closure. So on the 5-minute here, I wasn't given any confirmation for any potential longs, and so I was watching more of the 3-minute and the 1-minute time frame for the fractal model to form for a potential entry. And what do we see happened here? We had swept this London low on NAS on the New York during the New York session. We swept this London low, had a 1-minute candle body closure above, and then what do we see happens here? Well, we had this 2-candle bearish movement, which had formed a change in state of delivery with this C2 that had formed. And so I'm going to mark this out as my change in state of delivery being my bullish change in state. So what I was looking for here was to see a candle body closure on the 1-minute time frame above this change in state of delivery for a potential bullish entry. And what do we see happen here? We had this sweep, this change in state of delivery form, which gave me 2 layers of confluence, a session liquidity being swept, as well as a change in state utilizing the fractal model on the 1-minute with the 15-minute alignment. And so this was the main thing I was watching. And once we had seen this candle body closure on the 1-minute time frame is when I had taken my long position on this trade. Where did my stop lie for this trade, you might be asking? Well, I actually had my stop just below those London lows with myself targeting a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio. So we're going to drag this up to about a 2-to-1 risk to reward. So once again, what do we see happen? New York session opens, we see an aggressive bearish movement down where we sweep these previous London lows, and then we see a bullish candle body closure paired with a change in state of delivery with this candle 2 formation at that 10 o'clock open, and then we saw a bullish candle body closure above this change in state, now giving me another layer of confluence to enter in these long positions. So we'll say, I'll actually move this bar back here to when that entry was taken so we can follow alongside my entry. And so my take profit was at that 2-to-1 right here with my stop loss being at those London lows. Now we'll let this trade play out and see what exactly happens here. We'll move this to the 1x here and just see what happens with this trade. Here we see a continuation, a retest of that 1-minute change in state. and we continue having a confirmation. Here we actually go into our stop zone, but nowhere near our stop, so I was still very much so in this trade. So I was looking to see a bullish candle body closure back above our change in state, which is exactly what we saw, right? So I'm still very much so in this position, and this was all during the YouTube live stream. Here we see what happens next. We see that 1024 candle give another very bullish signature and then a continuation higher. There we go, another reversal signature. Here we go, and we continue higher, still very much so in this trade. My stops were still at the exact same zone. I did not want break-even stops yet until I'd had that confirmation for this trade. At this point as well, the T-Trades Fractal Model did print the T-spot for a re-entry into this zone here. So as you can see, we had a couple candle bodies that had rejected, which gave another re-entry period for those that had maybe missed the original change in state of delivery entry. And then we'll see what happens here. We'll see if we just continue higher towards this stop, or towards my take profit at that 2-to-1. So a very slow grind up on the 1 minute time frame, but we are still showcasing a very nice bullish move. Let the market still do its thing. There's that 11 o'clock open. Still very much so in an uptrend, just a bit of a slow grinder on the 1 minute here. Right, and so we were in this trade for the entirety of the live stream, and this was the one trade I had taken, but the one trade that had yielded very good results. So here it was a bit of a chop fest when we look at this market now, but here's what happens on the one. So we'll actually move to the 3x now so you guys can see. And then finally, what happens, 1122, we get a very bullish signature, which closes above these candle wick highs. And then we finally had our take profit be hit at that 2-to-1 risk to reward. And so yes, this was a bit of a slow grind when it comes to trades, but this was one that I did want to take because it did follow my entry model with the fractal and that session liquidity being swept. Another thing to note here on NASDAQ on the 3 minute time frame is we actually did have SMT at the lows with ES as well, which I forgot to mention previously, but we did have SMT that had formed at these lows, giving me another layer of confluence as to why these longs on NQ were an A+ trade setup. So we were working off of 4 different layers of confluence: session liquidity sweep, change in state of delivery, SMT at the lows, retest and bullish candle body closure above that change in state, as well as the alignment on the 3 minute, 1 minute, and the 15 minute utilizing that fractal. So this trade was taken all on live during my YouTube stream. And yeah, that's just a quick little recap as to why I had taken this long position. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.